Now, if you had full verifiability and if you have this proper auditing, constituency-wise statistical auditing or full auditing done, then all the concerns with respect to EVM can be bypassed, because the fundamental principle in electronic voting is the security of it is, if there is an undetectable change in the software, it should not lead to an undetectable change in the outcome. If the EVM is a standalone device, it is not connected to any external device. How does it know? Because each constituency has its own names, candidates. Each constituency has its own symbols. And how did the machine know that when I pressed 1, I have to give the name so and so and the symbol so and so? Somebody had to put it onto the machine. There is no other way. It cannot know it, right? The earlier machine didn't know it. For it was always candidate 1. Now the name is given. Now the symbol is given. Now the sequence is given. So that was the time when all our antennas should have been there. That how did the machine know if the commission is saying that it is standalone? And before 2019 elections, in fact, the chief election commissioner did an press conference in which he categorically stated, in fact, it is headline in many of the papers, that EVMs are standalone. Ballot unit, control unit, and VVPAT cannot talk to any other device other than itself. Cannot talk to any other device than itself. While it was fully known that it had to be connected to a symbol loading unit and a laptop for the symbols to be uploaded. That is one.
Hello and welcome to this very special series of interview. Today I have with me a very special guest on the show, Kannan Gopinath sir. He is a former IAS officer, though his resignation has not been accepted so far, if I'm not wrong. He is an activist from Kerala and he speaks up and is very vocal on so many social issues. Thank you so much, sir, for doing this interview with us at the Logical Indian. Sir, you have raised your objections, concerns, and doubts about EVM machines and VVPAT trails in this country. What are the problems, according to you, and how and what should be done to fix the problem?
Yeah. So before coming to VVPAT, I have to be very clear that I was a very strong votary of the EVM before the VVPAT was introduced.
Okay.
And I had my reasons, even though there were a lot of skeptics around that process also. The EVM that was before the VVPAT relied a lot on the process checks. It was not just about the technology, whether it can be hacked or not. It relied a lot on the process checks and also the physical checks. So it was more of an environmental security under which the hacking was made very difficult. So I have vehemently defended it on 3 counts because of the technological security that is there, meaning it is a one-time programmable, that it is not connected to any external device, those things. Second was that the process checks included key 3 things. One was the candidate agnostic nature. Candidate agnostic nature meant the pre-VVPAT EVM, that BU and CU, did never know that what is candidate 1 and candidate 2. So for it always is candidate 1. Even when you show the result, you will only see it as candidate 1, so many votes, candidate 2, so many votes in the control unit. On the BU also, a paper is put on the ballot unit. Nothing is electronically uploaded to. So as a machine, as a system, if you look at it, it was candidate agnostic. It didn't know who is candidate 1, who is candidate 2. Second part of it was the randomization process, wherein where the EVM, which EVM is going where, to which constituency and to which booth, was randomized, and it couldn't be known prior, which effectively made that you cannot do any pre-programming of the EVMs before it comes to the district, etc., because you don't know where it is going, and you cannot do any targeted manipulation also because you don't know which booth it is going. So it made it very difficult. So if you don't know the candidate sequence electronically, if you also don't know where the EVM is going, then any intelligent and targeted manipulation was very difficult before the voting. Now, the third thing was what we call the mock polls, wherein a certain number of votes are polled in 3 times. One is during the FLC, the first level check, which is very early. And then the second part is after the commissioning of the EVM, where the ballot paper and the number of candidates are set, where 5% of the ballot, the EVMs are placed, and all the political party representatives or the candidates' agents, they come and put 1,000 votes in 5% of the EVMs. And if there is any issue, you replace with the working one. So that is a mock poll there. And the second mock poll was on the day of poll, on which 50 votes were polled on every single EVM. On that particular day, 50 votes should be polled. So Now it is a constant check. Let's assume that something has been something has gone bad and some manipulation has happened. That is why these checks are there at every stage after the commissioning and also on the day of poll, so that everybody is satisfied that this is working fine. Also, the physical security meant that nobody can physically touch the EVM, those who are not authorized. So this was the defense, and these three things are what were drilled into all of us as officers and also the public. But then came the VVPAT. The issue with the EVM, the pre-VVPAT EVM, was that it lacked transparency. One, so you voted something. As a voter, you don't know. You have to trust the commission. You have to trust the machine that nothing bad is happening, and you have to trust the process in which that mock polls, etc., that nothing bad is happening. As a voter, you wouldn't know that I pressed one and it is, that exactly that has been gone, and so that verifiability was not there. So rightly, a VVPAT was introduced. I would say it was right, because computer science papers also around the time had said that whether EVM is hackable or not is an NP problem. You can't determine that. It's not a deterministic problem. So it's futile to go after that question, that whether it is hackable or not, or whether can you show it as hacked. That's it can be done in n number of ways, and maybe I may not be able to, somebody else might be able to do it. Then VVPAT was introduced. VVPAT, as it's supposed to be introduced from the theory itself, had two key components. One was a verifiability. Verifiability meant that a voter, once he presses the vote, is able to verify as to, yes, what I pressed is correct and what is printed is correct or wrong. And only after I verify, let's say there's an agency involved, I say, yes, this is correct, go ahead and put the vote. That was the verifiability part. Second was the auditing part. Auditing part meant in a sufficient number of VVPAT trails, the paper trails needs to be audited along with the EVM per each constituency, because each constituency is supposed to be an independent election. It's not a national election. It is always election is in the constituency. So there were two key components to VVPAT. One was verifiability and auditability. Now, if you had full verifiability and if you have this proper auditing, constituency-wise statistical auditing or full auditing done, then all the concerns with respect to EVM can be bypassed, because the fundamental principle in electronic voting is, the security of it is, if there is an undetectable change in the software, it should not lead to an undetectable change in the outcome. In the sense that if I am not able to see whether the software has been manipulated, I should be able to verify whether the outcome has changed or not. That was the key issue. And this is what the VVPAT intended to solve. Now let's see how our VVPAT came into picture. Our VVPAT came in, there was a lot of political discussion, Supreme Court intervention, etc., etc. It came in, but when it came in, it just surrendered all the technical process and physical security aspects of a pre-VVPAT EVM. It surrendered the entire part of it. Why? If I have to ask a counter question, how many, if you voted, any of you voted during the recent elections, you must have seen that paper slip coming, the VVPAT slip coming. In that VVPAT slip, there is name and symbol of the candidate printed. Have you ever wondered as to how does the machine know the name and the symbol of the candidate if it is not connected to any external device? If the EVM is a standalone device, it is not connected to any external device. How does it know? Because each constituency has its own names, candidates. Each constituency has its own symbols. And how did the machine know that when I pressed 1, I have to give the name so-and-so and the symbol so-and-so? Somebody had to put it onto that machine. There is no other way. It cannot know it, right? The earlier machine didn't know it. For it was always candidate 1. Now the name is given. Now the symbol is given. Now the sequence is given. So that was the time when all our antennas should have been there. That how did the machine know if the commission is saying that it is standalone? The thing is, it is not standalone. It is not standalone. Commission has, I would, with full responsibility say this, that commission has misled the public before 2019 election, saying that it was standalone. I had raised these concerns during my returning officers training in the in IIIDEM, where I asked this question: if the name and the symbol has to be uploaded or to be printed, it has to be uploaded. And if it has to be uploaded, how is it done if it is not connected to any other device? Then it was casually replied as to, there is a laptop or a SLU will be used to upload these things, and a laptop or a symbol loading unit assume it as a USB, will be used to, it's actually more than USB because it's an active device, to be used to upload the thing into the then I asked, if that is the case, then how do we claim the standalone aspect of the EVM? How do we repeatedly say? And before 2019 elections, in fact, the Chief Election Commissioner did an press conference in which he categorically stated, in fact, it is headline in many of the papers, that EVMs are standalone. Ballot unit, control unit, and VVPAT cannot talk to any other device other than itself, cannot talk to any other device than itself. While it was fully known that it had to be connected to a symbol loading unit and a laptop for the symbols to be uploaded. That is one. The physical security aspect is gone because you are actually physically connecting it, right? Earlier in the commissioning room, no electronic devices were allowed. Now in the commissioning room, laptops and SLUs are allowed, and you are putting it inside. So the second part, which was the technological thing. So we say it is one-time programmable. We say it is standalone. That is also gone because it is not standalone, it is connected. Second, it is one-time programmable. No, because if it was one-time programmable, how do you store the name and symbols? Symbol is a picture, right? It's in some form, it's a picture. How do you store it into a memory? You need a memory, a programmable memory to be loaded. So that thing is gone. It is not, it has a programmable memory. It is connected to an external device. It is not a rudimentary device. The most of the defense is that how you can't hack a calculator. It is not a calculator. VVPAT, if you go, you know that there is a printer. You also know that there is a programmable memory because the old names and symbols are uploaded. You know it has a sensor. You know there is a light driver which comes up for 7 seconds. Then there is a cutter. Then there is an IO port through which this data is given. So it has every aspect of a full-fledged computer other than maybe a screen. Instead of the printing, if there was a screen there, you could have called it a proper computer because it is not a calculator. In a calculator, you press your button, X, Y, Z, right? If you have a laptop, you can say that I cannot hack by typing. Okay, maybe I can believe that. Even that is a stupid belief, but still I can believe that. But if you allow me to connect a USB onto a computer, you don't allow a USB to be connected to a calculator and say that no calculator, nothing can go wrong with the calculator. But here you're connecting an external device through a serial port to the VVPAT. And this is all documented from Bell's own manuals. It is there in ECIL's manual. All those manuals have very clearly documented all these aspects. Now that part is gone. I'll just complete why process security is also gone. Why? So technological is gone. It is no more one-time programmable. The VVPAT, once VVPAT came in, it is no more rudimentary device, and it is no more standalone device. Then comes the process security angle. Three things were there. Candidate agnostic means earlier you couldn't do an intelligent manipulation. You didn't know who was candidate one. So even if I program saying that candidate one's vote should go to candidate three, actually I don't know who is candidate one and candidate three. So it is irrelevant whether, but now I know. The moment I press one button, a VVPAT is printing that, okay, Congress or a BJP or a CPM or whichever one, it is printing, or Trinamool, or so it is printing. So the machine already knows the candidate. So the candidate agnostic nature is gone. Machine as a system, now it knows button one, the vote has come, is now going to X party or Y party, or which candidate it is already knowing. The second part of it is randomization. The funny part is you are connecting this device, external device, after both the randomization. In the sense, the randomization wherein the constituency is allocated, and the second randomization wherein the booth is allocated. So when you are connecting this external device to the laptop or to the VVPAT, you already know to the extent that which EVM is going to which booth. So candidate is known and intelligent manipulation is possible. Booth itself is known, a targeted manipulation is possible. The only check that is now left, because randomization is done earlier, it's useless. The only check that is left now is mock polls. The first mock poll is done during the FLC, and the connection, the external device is connected after the FLC. So the first mock poll is gone. Then you have two more mock polls. One is on the day of commissioning, immediately after the commissioning. Now it was supposed to be a good check, but Commission's own documentation available on the website says two things. One, that the EVM has a date and time stamping. Date and time stamping means it knows that today, it knows as a machine that this vote is being cast on such and such date and such and such time. The VVPAT also has a session information. If you go see the slip, any VVPAT slip, going to vote today or tomorrow, you will see session 0, session 1, session 2 written there. It means it is remembering the session. It knows the date and time. If I know the election date and I know on any other date, I don't have to do anything else. I don't know. If so, the date and time is not the desired date and time, do nothing. It's a simple one-line thing. And if I do that, the mock poll is bypassed. The entire mock poll becomes a farce. Whereas the political parties or me and you as agents or even as collectors, we think that, okay, if there is anything wrong, we'll just catch it right here. That entire process is bypassed because you can easily, intelligently bypass that with the date and time information. The same thing goes to the mock poll on the day of poll also. Because on that day, again, you know that the first 50 votes or 100 votes are to be a mock poll done. It's easy to, we have to understand that this is not why would somebody take so much effort? If people are ready to purchase MLAs at, spending crores of rupees, you have to understand how important an election is, how much of money, time, and effort that the candidates and the parties are ready to invest. And forget about parties. Imagine just recently there was a news that our security, the power grid, the entire grid was affected through malwares by Chinese
China.
hackers. It was there for a long period, right? And the grids are supposed to be one of the most secure infrastructure of a country, because they can, if there is a manipulation, it can just take the entire thing out. Even there was a malware sleeping, a Trojan which was there, and we didn't know. So imagine at the foolishness, or imagine at the, what you call, the kind of stupidity to think that nobody would want to interfere or influence in an election, to convince, to make it this way or that way, even in whichever way it is possible, when you are connecting all your electronic voting machine devices to an external device.
Sir,
Okay,
if I
I'm
can
sorry,
ask,
I'm taking.
yeah.
I'll just complete and then finish.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just complete this part. Why VVPAT did not solve the issue? VVPAT was supposed to ideally solve this, because VVPAT added two things: supposed to add verifiability and auditing. Voter verifiable paper audit trail. That is a name. Now, verifiability had one very key thing. It meant that a voter should be able to verify. In the sense, if I pressed a button on ballot unit, the paper should come, and I should be able to verify whether the paper is showing what I pressed or not, correct or not. And I should be given that agency, right? To say yes or wrong. There could be a green or a red button which could say yes, okay, what I pressed is what is coming. Yes, okay, fine, go down. Or that slip can come and to be given to me, and I can check it, and I can say, okay, this is what is correct, what I pressed. Okay, then I put it in the box. Right now there is no agency. And when there is no agency, the moment I press a button, maybe the timer can be changed to 7 seconds to 1 second. The light can, all so many things can be done. It can just fall down and you will not be able to verify. The verifiability is not there. Why? We did a jugaad. We did not do a proper verifiability design. We did a jugaad. The more importantly, we made another thing in the sense that we had all these ballot units and control. I'm sorry, it's very hot here. The ballot unit and the control unit, we wanted to use the existing ballot units and control unit. So when we had to introduce the VVPAT, we did another jugaad. We got the VVPAT in the middle of the BU and CU, so that BU doesn't have to change. CU also does not have to change. VVPAT will sit in the middle. Ballot unit, so the vote flow is now very important. Vote flow, when you press, it comes from the ballot unit, it goes to the VVPAT. In the VVPAT, it gets printed. After it is printed, it waits for the entire period. If you go and vote, you can see this. It waits for the entire period to be printed, shown, goes down. After that, VVPAT sends the vote to the control unit. Okay, so it's no more ballot unit sending the vote to the control unit. Now, it is a VVPAT that is sending the vote to the control unit. This is, and again, jugaad, because we wanted to use, so we designed a VVPAT which was not verifiable. We placed it in the overall system, which was highly vulnerable, because now the vote is not actually cast by BU, vote is being cast by VVPAT, the same VVPAT which is getting connected externally in every election and every VVPAT. And the third one was the auditing. The auditing thing supposed to be another jugaad. The auditing was supposed to be, you go, any statistical professor or anybody who's a first year statistics guy would be able to tell you, independent events should have its own statistical part. In the sense, if an election, let's assume there is a by-election. In the by-election, I have to do a statistical hypergeometric distribution or whatever statistical thing that you want to do. You have to take a constituency as an independent event, or an election to a constituency as an independent event. You cannot take 10 lakh EVMs of the entire country, the parliamentary elections, as one single event and then come to a sample size decision. That's a foolish decision. Because every event, every constituency is independent, and every time every election, it is getting reconnected every time. So we did jugaad in the design, we did jugaad in the verifiability, and we are doing jugaad in the auditing. And this is the way we are conducting elections right now. And I don't think this is the way largest democracy in the world should be conducting elections, where we can't keep hand in our heart and say, no, this is fair, this is correct, then nothing has happened. If we can't do that, we should question. That is, it's a long answer, but I wanted to complete it in a
Yeah,
proper way.
it's okay,
Thank
sir.
you.